Everybody out there is having themselves a fantastic, awesome, wonderful, groovy, and terrific day. All those things would be ideal. Contrast. Seeing the good and the bad. Now, this show has come about in a couple different ways, and it's kind of cool how it did come about. One, I was planning on doing a show on contrast in general because of work. Have some really interesting things in line. Actually have something happening on Monday, for that matter. And so we'll come and talk about it after that. But I got a good dose of contrast today. That was really one of those things where it helped me understand what I desire. And I got hit up with a comment today on a video that had posted prior, because sorry about not yesterday. But again, so I did this, the comments about a Neil Donald video, and he references it, and I watch it. And this video talks about, he calls it the law of opposites. And he makes a reference to how when you use the law of attraction, he was referring to The Secret specifically. And just to give a little history, Neil Donald Walsh and The Secret came out really close to each other, as far as I remember anyway. Also on top of that, one thing I had issue with The Secret, and it was only because I read so much Neil Donald Walsh, so take these both with a grain of salt. But the thing I didn't like about Secret, the only thing, which I think is minor, very minor, the use of the word want. And I eventually just finally let it go and whatever. But the concept of wanting, and Neil Donald Walsh was kind of the one that really spoke to this, and it was even referenced in one of the books. But the concept of wanting really does create the concept of being in lack. So if I want something, I'm basically telling the universe I would like to experience lack of that, but yet still desiring it. Because that's technically what want is, right? So sometimes, and I still choose to personally myself not use that word. I don't like that word. I just think it's better to use wish, because they always say be careful what you wish for, right? So again, there's a bit of a history between, I think, these two groups, and there's a slightly divergent road. But for the most part, I think Secret's rocking. I do admit that, and this was, you can go back to my first video with Anya's, when I started talking about Goddard, I thought he hit the nail on the head with the imaginal portion of it. So I hope I can circle back around and cover why I think that's significant when we get into a little bit of this opposition or this polarity. And again, that's what I called it, was law of polarity and the 12 laws. I'll link those that show below. But again, what he was suggesting is when you try to manifest something, you are essentially asking for the opposite of it first. Now, there's kind of caveats to this. So I'm going to do my best to kind of, because I think, again, everyone's in different varying levels, varying degrees of where they're at and what they're asking for and why they're asking for it and all these things. Okay, so if you're asking for something that requires you to grow or expand, then you're going to have to experience more contrast to truly appreciate that expansion or to help push it. So one way I see expansion anyway, a lot of times when there's children, right, and say little Sue comes home, maybe Sue's your daughter, who knows, maybe your niece, whatever. Sue comes home and says, I got a crush on Johnny. I love Johnny. And you go, oh, little Sue. No. Oh, you're so adorable. You don't really love Johnny, because when you get older, then you'll truly understand what love is. So right now, what you feel, that's just like a crush. You don't really love Johnny. And really, I think that's completely 100% false. This is her coming home, and this is her concept of love. This is her understanding. This is the maximum amount of love she understands right now. Maximum. No different than the maximum amount of love you feel when you're an adult. It's still the maximum amount of love. But what's really wonderful is little Sue loves Johnny so much, when she thinks about it, she's like sucking on her sucker, and Johnny goes, "Aw, you have a sucker? Do you have another one?" She's like, "No." "You want a lick?" That's love. When she offers up her sucker to Johnny without any thought of cooties, that's an amazing concept and reciprocity, if you will, or demonstration of her absolute love for Johnny. So that is love. But as we get older, that concept of love grows vastly, doesn't it? Hugely. And that is the expansion. When you're at her age, that maybe is where we're at right now. in a very infantile love, some of us would say, oh, well, she's not really in love because she hasn't experienced the true aspects of love, the true depths of love when you would give your life for another. Yet, some of us are holding grudges, aren't we? Really? How sophisticated is that love? Really? Grudge? That's not love. When I think of love, I think of the love of maybe creator or even maybe that of a pet. It's sometimes easier for us. Like you just love that thing. It poos on your carpet and you're like, I still love you. Don't do it again. Rub your nose in it. I'm sorry I did that. Just don't poo on the rug anymore. Right? It's like you still love the thing beyond words. I guess if you have a child, you probably feel that way too, right? It's like amazing. Beyond words. So that's that expansion. And sometimes maybe where we're at, whatever it is that we're trying to manifest, money, maybe that expansion hasn't occurred enough yet. And the way that expansion occurs, it's not the way you may want it to, may not be the way you're planning it to. But if expansion needs to occur because of where your level of thinking is at and it is not sufficient for the life that you're trying to manifest, then along with manifesting the life that you're trying to manifest, you're going to manifest expansion with it. Period. You're asking for it, begging for it. I dare you to use I am statements because watch out. Same thing. So you're maybe requiring expansion. That is when we bring contrast into our lives for sure when we're trying to manifest something. If you've already experienced enough contrast, maybe you've already had that experience where I've already been dirt poor and I've managed to pull myself up from my bootstraps, but I still remember when I had nothing. I still remember when putting hot dogs in top ramen was like dynamite. Like I was eating, like I had an extra few bucks that week to actually buy some hot dogs, which are nasty food, by the way. Not even food. You can probably barely call it food. Unless they're all beef. Right. I couldn't afford those. Those are like an extra $1 or $2. Get out of here. Anyway, so we expand through these moments. And if you've already come from that place where you know it and you're already expanded, then you're at that place where manifesting is happening. It's occurring. Law of attraction's groovy. You've passed the point where law of opposites or law of polarity comes into play. You're polarized enough, or your understanding or your expansion, as I try to refer to it as, is large enough, significant enough, vast enough to encompass your newfound love. Now, to add one thing, and I'm going to do a show on this tomorrow. This will be a follow-up show, but to tease it, I so wanted to do this on this show, so I hope I don't go too far into it. I'm teasing. This blew me away. This is true, and I forgot about it. It just gave me goosebumps. I forgot about it from when I read Law of Attraction. Well, when I read Neil Donald Walsh originally. But the one point he brings up, and this is very true, what we're trying to manifest, the more people that benefit from this manifestation, the better. In fact, it creates a multiplier effect. So if you're just trying to manifest something maybe between just you and the universe, more money, for example, you don't necessarily have any plan on doing anything with the money that might benefit other people, or you're not viewing it in such a way, then really what you're doing is kind of asking sort of a small request in the scope of the universe. If you're looking at it and you plan on doing good things, or you realize every time you spend it on, this is an important distinction, by the way. You're currently doing this right now. They call it tithing. There's another way to look at tithing also, in that when you spend money at businesses, when you spend money on your bills, this money goes to pay other people's salaries, goes to put other people's food in their mouths and feed their families. And when you realize that every check I write for a bill, just to go old school, some of you are like, checks? What the hell is that? When you use a credit card payment online, same thing. When you look at it from the standpoint of this money is being given to the families in love, knowing that this is kind of my part I'm playing in this big picture. Like living without bills at all, but still having gobs of money. Well, what are you going to do with it then? Because there needs to be an outflow. It needs to benefit other people. When you do that, there's a multiplier effect. It now becomes something that benefits many. And from the standpoint of universe or God or whatever, it creates a slightly higher priority. They talk about frequently, successful people talk about, if you want to be successful in business, you've got to find a way to help other people become successful in business. Like, you help more people successful in business, that creates you to be more successful in business, which means if I create a niche that helps other people create presentations, then that helps them with their business create more business. And what I'm doing is helping them make more business. It's a good business idea. If you want to make more money by trying to help other people make more money, you're getting yourself in line with that same concept, and you get into this multiplier effect. One of the best ways, they say, the same people, rich people, best way to make money for yourself is to help make money for other people. And it's true. It leads to it, more and more of it. So it's that same concept that, how big is your thing? Are you trying to manifest something for just you? You trying to manifest something for you and a specific person? Okay, well, maybe it's time to start to include, are you thinking family maybe with them? Or are you just maybe them? That's okay if it's just them, but maybe think friends too. Maybe think of all the people that would benefit from this relationship working out. If it's the case of it's going to be very significant, you love each other, then it's the family. It's the growing up of the children. It's the things you guys are going to do together as a family, the places you're going to go on vacations. It becomes larger, becomes more important. It's not just you. Now it's other people. Now you understand there's larger aspects of the universe. Again, 12 laws. And when we realize that we are kind of all one, what we do for another is also significant for ourselves. And when we do good things for others, it's actually doing good things for ourselves. Call it karma, calling it reflecting back at you, calling what you send out comes back tenfold, whatever. I think Neil Donald Walsh was using 7 times 70 or something. I don't know what the hell. These people are making up numbers. I don't really know. It's significant, I think. 7 times, 10 times, 70 times. And I think that's if it's like hundreds of people. Again, like YouTube channels. Not that I'm necessarily patting myself on the back, but here's a chance. Here's where I'm trying my best to awaken as many as I can. And, you know, I don't know how else to do it. I can't stand up on the rooftop with a bullhorn. I'm only going to talk to, well, I'm only going to annoy just people around me. Right? So who knows? So I'm going to try to cover that one, the concept of the multiplier, how that can benefit you, how we can make that work for us, how we can take that to the next level, and maybe try to apply it to a couple different scenarios. Certainly with money, multiplier is easy. But when it maybe comes to buying a car, when it maybe comes to other things, again, maybe sometimes we have to step back and see it more from the standpoint of trying to get our finances in a different place. And then why are we doing that? And again, when we start to put it in a larger context, which I think is very Goddard, by the way, that imaginal from that location, I don't see any difference, frankly. I'm just trying to help you understand the mechanics of it. This is like, you know, it's like, yes, this is the law in physics, but here's the mathematics behind it. And some of you are like, I don't care about the mathematics. I know, but it's kind of good to know that this is why this stuff's happening. And it kind of helps us adjust our behaviors when things maybe aren't working quite as good as we were hoping. So those are my thinkings on it, if you will. Hopefully this plays out the way I want it to. It should. Had a little bit of an issue creating this one. And by the way, that first video, that's like if you weddings, just saying, if those of you that are planning on weddings, that is almost a guarantee you're going to hear that as your first song on the dance floor to get everybody out on the floor. Glenn Miller, In the Mood, always. That's like that. When I was learning to be a DJ, that was, yeah, you play this song first. That's just the rule. That's like the law. It's written. And so it shall be. Okay, we're going out with Styx doing Lady. It's Dan Radio Style.